Hello, and welcome to the Permaculture Vine podcast, episode 96, live with Permaculture Canada, with Graham. Lindsay should join us shortly, and with Steve Koontz. Welcome, guys.
Hey, thanks, Cormac. I appreciate it.
As always. Thanks, Cormac. It's good to be here.
So quick round robin for those who are just joining us. We're live as well, so if you have any questions, please put them in the chat, in the comments, and we'll get to them. We're going to be talking about indoor growing today with Steve, and any other permaculture questions as well. Just drop them in the chat there. So my name's Cormac Harkin. I'm your host, permaculture designer, and host today. Graham?
Thanks, Cormac. Yeah, Graham Towerton. I am the Chief Operations Officer for Permaculture Canada. Hoping to be joined shortly by Lindsay Brandon, our CEO, and I am based in Michigan. I'm also the owner and operator of Permaculture Adventures of Michigan, which does all the landscaping work here in Michigan for all the design work done by Permaculture Canada.
Steve?
Well, I'm Steve Koontz, owner of Keep It Watered. We're located in northern Michigan, and have had the pleasure of partnering with Graham for the last year or so on different projects. So it's good to be here.
Great stuff. So what have you been up to, Graham?
Yeah, I'd be glad to. So I'll start with all the activities that I've been working on, Cormac. If Lindsay joins us, then she can cover all the Permaculture Canada stuff. But it's spring is in full force here in Michigan, which is obviously our busiest time of the year for permaculture activities. I've got 5 different installs going on in parallel right now. One of which is for a design that Lindsay completed for a customer here in my hometown in Adrian, Michigan. So we've just completed our second day of install work yesterday on that particular project, putting in 5 fruit tree guilds into a small residential lot in the oldest part of town. And Lindsay did a wonderful design, as she always does. But I've had the fun with Julia, my farm manager here, to do that work for the install. We've also been going back to all of our existing landscape customers, the ones which are year to year looking for our services for maintenance and upkeep of their gardens. So I have 2 of those in Pinckney, Michigan. A mother and daughter on opposite sides of the street, and if you watch my Instagram channel, you'll get to see some of the pictures from the work that we're doing in those locations. And another one up in Oxford, Michigan. I'm now in my 3rd year with her as well. So there's been a lot of activity starting very early this year because we've had a good, warm up into the season. Ordinarily, I'd be waiting until the end of May before I do any installation work, simply because there's a risk of frost and heavy freezes through the early parts of May. But we didn't have any of those this year, or very few of them. So we actually got some work started in April, which was really unusual. So that's the installation landscaping work, and I've got 3 or 4 others to do this year as well. Again, based on designs that Lindsay has done on my behalf for local customers here. We've started to develop a number of new opportunities here in Michigan as well with folks that are on larger properties. So we've got some site visits to do in the next couple of weeks for customers on 60 and 70 acre properties, which are looking for like community development and retreat centers to be built. So that's very exciting that we've got those types of opportunities coming our way. And then in terms of just the work here at my place, we're looking like we're going to have a bumper crop of just about everything this year. So it's now coming up in 9 days' time. It'll be 11 years since we moved here to this place, and we started with pretty much grass just all over the property. So all the fruit trees are now starting to come into maturity. So we've got a massive amount of cherries for the first time, apricots for the first time, nectarines for the first time, and a whole bunch of raspberries for the first time as well on different crops that we've planted over the last few years, as well as having a ton of existing stuff coming back, like our apples and pears and peaches and mulberries and blueberries. So We've got a lot of activity going on trying to clean up all of the weeds that tend to come up here in spring, and taking care of all of our vegetable plots that we're putting in the ground. Lots of stuff, Cormac, that you've seen me do before with compost. My compost method continues to be a really good one for fertility, using the mixture of decomposing wood chips and chicken manure and straw and composted leaves. It's a great mix that has served us well over a number of years now, and that's helping us to have a really, really good start to our vegetable season this year. So we've already been harvesting a number of different things like arugula, some salad greens, some radishes, all of which we started putting in early April. So that's a quick trip around the world for us for what we've done in the last month.
So you got hit by a late frost last year, didn't you? That took out most of your fruit.
Yeah, last year was a tough year for us. The only things that we harvested last year was like a handful of blueberries, probably a few quarts of strawberries, and about a half dozen cherries, and that was it. All of the peaches, the pears, the apples, and the plums were all wiped out. We had a very, very warm February with some 65 to 70 degree weather for a couple of weeks, followed by really, really cold weather, and then heavy freezes in early April, which killed all of the fruiting buds on all of the trees. So I'm very thankful that this year we just had a steady increase in the temperatures without anything too warm too early in the season. So this year it's up for last year, hopefully.
See, that's why sometimes I think we live in a simulation, because some areas here, like you're in Michigan, I'm in Ireland. I got no fruit last year off the fruit trees. And then this year we're forecasting for a bumper crop.
Yep.
So summer we didn't get, like I have dozens of fruit now hanging off the trees, and I actually need to go and thin it out a wee bit.
Yeah.
But it's crazy that last year we had the summer. This year I'm getting plums up, which is the first year I've got a few plums, but I don't understand because I was told it needed a pollinating pear, and I've only one plum tree there, but there seems to be fruit on it.
Well, maybe you've got one in the neighborhood somewhere you don't know about.
Yeah, there must be a hidden plum somewhere. So it's I was just delighted. I got a couple of plums on there.
Awesome.
But it's not that old. So how do you manage 5 installs at once?
Well, so true story. Julia is away on vacation this week, so the work activities have been somewhat stressful for me while she's been away. She just got back home, and I'm going to go and have a quiet conversation with her about never taking vacation ever again. But in any event, it's a case of planning early. Contacting the customers. As early as late last year for us, we started to ask them what they wanted to achieve this year so we could get those activities planned, so we could get all the cost estimates prepared. So that was the first part, and second then is a continuous watching of the weather to see when it's going to break and see when we can start activities. And then obviously phasing the work based on the weather and based on time at each location. So with regard to things like landscaping activities, the hardscaping, those kinds of things, they don't require the weather to be warm enough for plants. So we got a lot of that work done early, in terms of like shaping the ground, doing some of the construction activities. We got a few gates and fences and things like that we could take care of, do that kind of work early, while we're waiting for the temperatures to warm up. And then ordering and growing is the biggest challenge, for the plants. A lot of the nurseries, the commercial nurseries here in the US, don't open up for sales until April, May. And some of them won't ship anything to you until after the risk of frost is completely gone, because they don't want stuff damaged in transit with cold weather. So we actually took the approach of having a lot of stock that we held on hand from last year, so that we would have things available. So we kept things in the greenhouse, we kept things in my basement. We kept a lot of plants that needed to go dormant outside in pots. And that was a way that we were able to, I guess, manage the demand for the plant materials, and get the work started quicker than when you ordinarily would. So, and then I've also developed a great relationship with the local nursery. So I made a presentation to Barrett's, which is now Madison Garden Center here in Adrian. And they allowed me to make a presentation there to a number of their customers. And, we got one design out of that, paid them a nice little thank you check for that one design. And they also then gave me the opportunity to have a wholesale 15% price discount on all of the plants that I purchased from them. So I gave them a very good commitment that I'd buy all the plants from them for any designs that came to us through them. But I've actually also been taking advantage of that to buy all the plants that I needed for all of the existing customers as well. So that 15% price discount is really, really helpful for a profit standpoint. It's already been worth a few extra $100 to us on the work that we've done so far. And so it's a case of, planning early, ordering early as you can, doing the work in the right order. So doing all of the things that aren't dependent on warm temperatures, doing those things first, and then waiting for the frost to break before you put the rest of the plants in the ground. All of those customers are pretty close to me time-wise, sort of within an hour to an hour and 15, with the exception of the one up north, which is 2.5 hours. But in any event, that enables us to, go up there and do 4 or 5 hours work at a time rather than trying to get 2, 3, 4 days work done all in one session. So that's the ticket for how we get it done.
Great stuff. Sorry for keeping you, Steve.
Oh, I just enjoyed listening. This is great. Yeah, no problem. But
do you want to share what you've been up to this last few weeks?
Yeah,
or what do you normally get up to at this time of year?
Okay. Yeah, no problem. A lot of what I do is partnering with organizations that want to do healthy eating initiatives into schools and other organizations. And the most recent one that fits what I do, because what my goal is to enhance education through indoor gardening. A lot of that's through a tower garden, which is a soilless gardening system that works well indoors. So most recently, I've been working with Live Well Kosciuszko. They want to have an impact on local food banks. So we're working on a tower garden initiative in a food bank that's here in my hometown, and also hoping that spreads to other food banks as well. Well, a lot of it is through Purdue Extension educators who want to do healthy eating initiatives into schools, organizations. I had a good meeting with one a couple of days ago who was looking at a local mental health institution that wants to expand into teaching healthy eating, growing their own produce, their own food. They're putting in large outdoor gardens, but they're also interested in tower gardens and doing indoor growing as well, which is a good partnership. At a meeting about a week ago with a group that wants to bring a botanical garden here to Warsaw. The closest botanical garden is an hour away. So in January, when it's snowing, if you want something green, you're driving an hour to see it. But this group would like to bring a botanical garden into Warsaw that would be a greenhouse that would provide opportunities for education, opportunities to show healthy eating, growing, how to grow your own edibles and potted plants, to be able to store and winter plants as well. So just I'm part of that group, and I'd like to see that happen in the next couple of years. That'd be really cool. But yeah, enjoying getting outside too. I take care of the flower beds here in the community where we live. So I was doing some planting today, pulling weeds, trying to keep up with those, but I enjoy getting outside in the summer too, getting my hands dirty and trying to make the community look a lot better than it has before.
Well, I got to interrupt here and say my cousin Kath in Australia, Kathy, my only female cousin in the entire world, joined on Instagram. So good to see you, Kath.
All right, Kath, how's it going? She got up early for you?
Well, yeah, early enough in Australia, but she just recently took a trip to, I think it was Borneo, with a friend of hers, so she might be there.
Class. Well, June here's it's very, very bright. I think it gets light here now about 4 a.m. Doesn't get dark till 11.
Oh wow!
So it doesn't really get dark here at this time of year. Not 100% dark, which is a pity because we had I think there was aurora sightings earlier on the week, but basically from now on, like heading towards the 21st, it's very bright, so it does throw your sleep off a wee bit. So for me, I've been working on another client proposal. I lost my first client basically on price expectations. Just quite, basically, they wanted probably an experience on my part that I didn't have the communication right. So they wanted like more established fruit trees rather than like 2-year-old bare root trees. So that then when they got the price, I don't think the price via expectation there was a mismatch there. So if I had that at the start, that made a difference. So this second client now is a big project. It's by the coast. It's 3/4 of an acre. It's basically just a building site with rock on it.
Oh.
So a lot of soil remediation. So I'm going to propose like a 3-year plan. So basically this year get on a greenhouse and some annuals to get them going. Then maybe spend a while just studying how to get the soil built up, and then phase the rest of it in over the next food forest and over the next 2 years, 3 years.
Yeah, that's a tough ask dealing with no soil and a lot of construction waste there, Cormac.
It's not actually it's actually rock.
Holes in order to plant anything.
But it's all broken up. So my main issue at the minute is, although I think I found today the plan. So it's the septic system. So there's you have the septic tank for the main sort of, they call it the secondary, and then there's a tertiary system, which is like a sand gravel bed.
Yep.
And then that flows down. So I just have to double check where all the pipe work is for that and what I can plant. So trying to figure that out at the minute, but trying to put a pitch deck together and trying to put the offer, what way I want to structure the offer is important as well. So I'm trying to work on with other people. So I have somebody local who's going to do the plant list for me, who's very experienced, has their own place. They have a 1 acre place. I was chatting to her the other day. She's going to help me with the plant list. I have a landscaper who's going to help me with the landscaping side of it. The soil is going to be a challenge. So it's a big job for me for my first one, but I'm looking forward to it. I'm going to learn a lot. And the most important thing is the clients seem very, very patient.
That's important right there. Because with challenges like that, and when I mentioned earlier, Cormac, those two ladies that have got the mother and daughter across the street from each other, they've been very, very flexible in that regard. When you ask about, how we can get all 5 installs going at the same time, well, with those two folks being so close to each other and being in the same family, they're very flexible on letting me come and do work at both locations on the same day and going backwards and forwards between the two as I need to. So that helps a lot. But, the interesting part is that both of their gardens are very different in terms of their soil and in terms of their watering that they use. And, just so many differences for 2 permaculture properties that are literally within 150 yards of each other. And so, the challenge there is to just not make any assumptions about what I'm going to do on one property and assuming I can do the same on the other, just because one thing is working and one thing's not. So, to give a great example of what happened this year, because it warmed up fairly well in April, we went there with the belief that we weren't going to get any more frost. The weather forecast that we had for 2, 3, 4 weeks out was showing temperatures above 40 degrees Fahrenheit, well above freezing. And so we thought we were going to be in good shape for planting all the annual vegetables, and the nurseries had them all out in the open. And so we thought, okay, that's a good sign that we're not getting any more frost, because the nurseries didn't want to risk all their stock unless there was going to be no frost. So we bought a bunch of annuals, we stuck them all in the ground, and we got frosted 4 days later. Only at one place and not the other. And then it was like a week later, we got frosted at the second place, but not at the first one after we'd replaced the plants at both. And so it's just really bizarre how, such close proximity properties can have such very, very different aspects. Both of them are facing south. Both of them are slope land. I would have thought that the frost would have been able to easily drain away on both properties. And the strange thing was we were getting frosted out in some of the raised bed planters, not on the ground level stuff. So it was just really, really strange weather effects. And, we had to replant a lot of those annual vegetables, So, when I say that it's great to have patient clients, when we put stuff in the ground and 2-3 weeks later, we've had to replace it a couple of times, they're all eager to see all their vegetables growing. And, they've been very patient with us as we've had to explain, well, hey, we jumped the gun and, it's our fault. So, we replace the plants.
Yeah. It's been a play so far, but I haven't got the signature yet. So I've just doing the initial proposal this week. It's a coastal property as well. So a lot of shelter belts.
Yeah.
A lot of small rooms, and then steep inclines. It's going to be a very interesting challenge, but I know I'll come out the other end of it a lot more knowledgeable.
Yeah, it never hurts to get that first one under your belt for doing the installation work. I'm sure you'll enjoy it.
So I'm excited for it. Podcast wise, it's been a slow couple of months. I've just been reflecting really on what we've done, sort of approaching 100 episodes. Maybe look back and then realize I'm probably not doing the post production justice in terms of I'm basically I was link dropping, so I was just dropping it on the LinkedIn. So been researching now, and you have to actually write what insight is provided in the podcast episode. So things like that. So I spent the last month or two just researching and trying to see how I'm going to move forward from 100 episodes on. So that's why you haven't seen many interviews, but I have four episodes recorded that are coming up. So we have Mitch. I know I promised that 2 months ago. We have Dave Spicer. He does earthworks. He's done earthworks for Jeff Lawton and Bill Mollison. We have a round table on sheep, which was recorded 5 months ago or something. And then Steve was on last night. How did you get on last night, Steve? Did you enjoy it?
I did. Yeah, it was good chatting with you. Good getting to know you, and enjoyed the conversation.
Yeah. So that episode will probably be out in 3 weeks' time. So we have a full month, and then we plan to have the 100th episode live with Permaculture Canada next month.
Awesome. Yeah, we're looking forward to that. I mean, for a lot of reasons, Cormac, you can recall when we were working together in the past organizations that we were with, and you started out with this, marketing activities that were above and beyond anything that we had considered. You came up with a great approach for how to get out there and doing a post every day and doing all those different things in order to get the recognition in the social media world. So I am really, really looking forward to 100 episodes so that we can celebrate with you what is a major milestone, because you've stuck at it through thick and through thin over, 2.5 years now since you started?
I think the first episode was February 23, so 2 years and 2 months.
Yeah, so it's getting up there already. So that's great. A good achievement. And we look forward to being the privileged ones to be on your episode 100.
Great stuff. Thank you. Yeah. And thanks to all the guests who have been on. Really appreciate it. But we'll have a celebration. I might even have a couple of cans of beer. I'm on the 0% stuff tonight.
Good for you, Cormac.
It's a late one. So great. Steve, have you anything coming up that you would like to talk about? What's up for June?
Coming up for June, I'm working on a training series of training videos for teachers that have tower gardens. So trying to get that completed. Did some voiceover work today. My wife does some voiceover for me. She's really good at reading and enjoys that. She used to do voiceovers for commercials years ago. I'd be driving down the road and hear a voice over the radio and think, hey, I know that person. It was cool. But yeah, I've been working on it for a little while, so I want to get that buttoned up and completed. Going to a conference next week near Indianapolis. It's Indiana School Health Network. They take Tower Guard's LEPOT there, mixed with school professionals that are nurses and that want to encourage kids to eat healthy. So I went last year, made some good contacts. I'll make some good contacts as well there. Way down, get a stop at a university that's interested in indoor gardening. They have a greenhouse. Be good to meet the guy running that. And a lady just east of Indianapolis who helps the schools with their outdoor gardens. Met her, had a good conversation with her. Actually met her on Alignable, the way Graham and I met. But good conversation with her. Going to meet her and see her, see the school garden that she's working on with the kids down there. I got a full week coming up.
So you mentioned that last night. Alignable, what's that?
Alignable is a social media network for small businesses. And so, Graham, you're getting ready to jump in there, I can tell.
Yeah, I'm just not sure if it's something that's international or not. I haven't looked to see if it covers outside of the United States and Canada, to be honest. But I know I have met folks from Canada because we met some of the Harvest Wall folks through Alignable up in Calgary. So I guess, it probably should be in your part of the world, Cormac. And all I can say is that it's been a wonderfully surprising place in order to make a lot of contacts within the same industry. So Steve and I met through Alignable, and it's going to be easily over a year since that happened. We've met other folks together and made introductions to other folks at the same time.
That's true, yeah.
So we've got Jan Ponder, who has BLL Culinary Gardens over in New Jersey, in Morristown. So she knew Steve through Alignable, and I ended up meeting her through Alignable, and we had a free consultation chat together for an hour or a couple of hours the first go around, and she's since chatted with Lindsay as well. And we featured her in our last month's newsletter. But I was thinking, I really need to introduce Jan to Steve so that she can start marketing all of Steve's equipment. And I sent the link to Jan for Steve, and she said, I'm already way in front of you. I've known Steve for months.
I'm telling Jen, you need to meet Graham. And so Jen came on with the three of us and went, wait a minute, I know you already. I've talked to you already. But yeah, great gal, good to work with. And but Alignable, it's way different than LinkedIn. With Alignable, the idea is you get to know somebody else, and then they refer business to you. Oh, it's Graham and I met. It wasn't, Graham, I want to sell you a tower garden. It was, hey, Graham, who do you know that you could introduce me to? And for me, who do I know I can introduce Graham to? It's the idea behind Alignable.
Yeah, I mean, Steve went straight to work introducing me to the folks at Purdue University in the agriculture extension services. And, that's turned into some incredibly good opportunities coming up for us. So I participated with Steve at one of the Purdue University county conventions, you could call it, just in his part of the world, down west of Indianapolis. And, that was a 2-day event that we were at, and, met a lot of the folks from Purdue in person, which was great. As a result of that and some other activities that Steve and I have done with Purdue, where we've done some indoor-outdoor gardening presentations for them and their extension agents and some teachers. I've been invited to represent Permaculture Canada as the keynote speaker for the Homesteaders Conference that Purdue's hosting in November, as well as giving a talk on fruit trees that are suited for the region. So, that's just an example of what Alignable has done as a place to network. And Steve's also been kind to introduce me to other folks that he's networked with. One which has been tremendously successful already, a company called MCG Biomarkers, run by Sam McCord out in Iowa. He makes these plant markers that are made from bio-based plastics and made here in the United States. Very proud of that, because most of the plastic stuff that's sold in this country comes from outside of the US. And my customers have absolutely loved his markers. They're all sort of between 9 and 24 inches in height, different colors. He's got some that are biodegradable for folks who want that capability. And so far, every single customer that I've introduced the markers to has, wanted to purchase them, and they have purchased them and they've loved them. So that's just, again, another great example of what Alignable has done for Steve and myself. And then, the relationship between the two of us is such now that we're meeting, we were meeting weekly, and we've backed off to every 2 weeks now, where we talk about all the opportunities that we can develop together. Treating Steve as a strategic partner for Permaculture Canada, and looking for opportunities to help him grow his business as well.
Yeah, so well worth doing for permaculture professionals there to expand their network.
Most definitely. I mean, I'm connected now with landscape installers across the country. Connected with a lot of permaculture designers, some of which you're probably familiar with, Cormac, folks like Maria McKenty up in British Columbia, Jen McCausland. They're all on Alignable, so I encourage you to join up just to continue another place to network with our fellow permaculture designers.
I just tried to sign up there, but the SMS has insisted on a +1 telephone number.
Okay, there you go. So it's Canada and US only at this point. But also it's been the different suppliers of things like landscaping materials and plants, compost, that kind of stuff that I'm connected with, and fertilizer materials, organic fertilizers. So, not that I have work that I need to do in places like California, but now that I've got those connections, with folks in California, when we have projects come up, we know where to go to for those resources. But it's a good little network.
Yeah, maybe if I can't find a UK equivalent, maybe I'll just copy it. I did read a thing last night about guys who actually did that. They basically looked at the US and see what's working. So, for example, I think one was eBay. So these guys created the German equivalent of eBay, and then 2 years later, eBay bought it because it was already set up in German. And so that's people make whole businesses around copying stuff and then selling it to the people they copied from.
Not a bad idea. And, I think part of it is, the United States is obviously the biggest market for pretty much everything on the planet, because, we're 4% of the world's population and 25% of the world's GDP in terms of production and consumption in this country. So, everybody looks to the United States first to be a marketplace, and not every company then looks elsewhere. So no offense, Cormac, but where you're located might not be a good marketplace for Alignable, until they can work out that you've built it, and then you can sell it.
Yeah, no, where do you think I'm getting the time for that?
You've still got time between 2 and 3 o'clock in the morning, right?
Too much. So, Graham, what are you up to this month now in June?
In June? Okay, so, lots of activities. Let me start first, I guess, with Permaculture Canada activities. So I mentioned earlier that we've got some site visits coming up. So first, we're headed across to Western Michigan, about 2.5 hours west of me, going to visit a guy who's got 4 properties. He's permaculture design certified with Jeff Lawton, but he's got so much work that needs done, he needs help. So he sent me a lot of his designs that he's had done, a lot of the, I guess, outline of the work that he wants to accomplish, what he's trying to achieve. One property is 70 acres, one property is 20, and then he's got 2 residential homes that are all done with permaculture. And he's looking for something pretty unique. He's actually asking for us to help him find the residential tenants and qualify them and train them so that they can look after the permaculture, according to permaculture principles, and look after the place well for him, in exchange for a fairly good reduction in rent compared to if they were just not looking after the place at all. So there's that opportunity for us. Really excited by that because he's looking to create a community on the 70-acre property over time with a retreats and event center, camping, glamping, all of those kinds of activities on his property. So we're really excited about that one, and we'll be meeting with him tomorrow morning to scope out the site visit that we're hoping to do on Monday and Tuesday and Wednesday of next week. And then a similar project, I mentioned the lady with 63 acres. I just had my first consult with her on Monday, and she's about 35 minutes north of me here in Michigan. And she's looking to develop a retreat center on 63 acres of land that's under a conservation trust, and looking to see what kinds of things that she can do, which will meet with, the constraints of the conservation trust. So organic farming and gardening is a must. Steve, there'll probably be some indoor opportunities, because there'll be a limit for what we can grow outdoors, perhaps. But she's looking to build a retreat center. She's a certified yoga instructor, and she's looking to bring courses and that kind of stuff to the place as well, to teach others how to live a good, health and wellness lifestyle. And then I have to give a shout out to my wife on that one, because it was actually her going to her acupuncturist and talking about me doing permaculture. And the acupuncturist referred me to the lady that we'll be meeting with next week on Friday. So she's signed up for her site visit, and we'll be doing that next Friday. So
just make sure she gets the 10% commission.
Oh, no, 15. It's
15.
Absolutely. So in any event, so that's the two big new projects that we're working on. I've got a permaculture party that I'll be attending on the 14th of June. Alex Pop, who owns Permaculture Party, is going to be doing one at his parents' place in Davisville, about 2 hours north of here. So I'll be going to that. I didn't mention one of the activities that we just completed. We attended a native plant sale on the 30th of May. And Cormac, I remember that you went to, I think it was a seed swap, in order to network with folks in your part of the world. The native plant sale was the first one that was held by the local watershed managers, the River Raisin Watershed Organization. And they had 4 or 5 different native plant vendors there, none of which I'd heard of before, 3 of them within 45 minutes of my house. And so I've got business cards that we swapped, and I've got some nursery inspections coming up here in June to go and visit with each of the different owners and find out all their capabilities for nursery stock production. But, one of the goals that I've got is to stop buying stuff retail from the big box locations, which is pretty much all we've got here in my hometown, and see if I can't go to local nurseries for the majority of all the stock that I put at my customer locations. And the reason for that, Cormac and Steve, is that I've had so many plants that have died just in transit to get them here. And then others that haven't thrived well once I put them in the ground, just because of the transportation shock that can sometimes occur, especially when you're transporting from places like Texas and Georgia, where it's warm already 2 months in advance, and then stuff gets frozen in transit as it comes up here into Michigan. So that's a lot of the work that's coming up is trying to get myself set up so that I can purchase a lot of stock this year to put into my own nursery. So again, I've got stuff early next season. Also, what we're doing then farm-wise here, Julia and I have been planting and planting and planting and planting. And I think I've put more seeds into planter trays here this year than we've ever done before, especially this early. Normally I wouldn't get started until June. And I think we've already planted like 40 or 50 seed trays out with seeds, for things like all the annual vegetables. But we've also started growing perennial flowers from seed, things like poppies and bachelor's buttons, and then a lot of herbal medicinals, so things like skullcap, plants like that we've never been able to get from the nursery typically. And so we're really starting to focus our efforts on how we can grow all those things. And one of the things that we learned, and Steve, you'll be pleased to hear this, that we're going to be learning from this year's experience that next year we must start as early as we can, which will force us to grow indoors. So I guess, I want to use that as a lead in for, having Steve have an opportunity here to promote what he does in his business, Cormac, and, talk about some of the needs that I've got. And I think my needs are a little bit different than, the average person who might be looking to grow their indoor vegetables, so that they can have salad in December and January and February. I'm looking to see if I can grow my plant starts in equipment like Steve's so that I've got annual vegetable seedlings available, come April, come May, instead of relying on the stuff from the nurseries. And I'd like to share with you the reasons why I'm getting really, really frustrated with nursery-based annual vegetables. They're usually grown 3 months in advance in warm locations, and then they're put on a truck and shipped up here. I won't mention the names of the big nurseries because I don't want to slander anybody, but what typically happens is that they grow them so early that by the time they get to the nursery that I buy from, they're already root bound in their planter pots. And that means that the plant really struggles to grow well. And I've found on more than enough occasions now where I've been losing probably 25 to sometimes as much as 50% of my annual vegetables that aren't growing well compared to what I do when I plant seed. I'll probably put some posts on Instagram about this coming up here shortly because, I want to demonstrate the difference in the root structure on some of these plants. When I grow stuff from seed and put it in my own planter pots, it gets a good, strong root development because I'm giving the plant enough room to expand. Whereas with the stuff that you buy from the nurseries, they're in the tiniest possible pots that they can put them in, and they're fully wrapped up and bound by the time that I get to purchase them. So that means, like I said, I'm going to have to go indoors to grow a lot of my starts, and I'll probably be making use of a lot of equipment that Steve supplies. I've got a harvest wall here that's got, how many slots was that one, Steve? Is it
354?
354.
Double-sided.
Yeah, so I'll be using a harvest wall. I may look to use a tower garden as well, or some cheaper hydroponic systems, depending on what I want to get after and how quickly. But I've done the math on this, that even just with the customers that I've got and the amount of annual vegetables that they want, I can probably pay off a harvest wall in under a year growing my own starts for vegetables. And that doesn't count anything to do with my own farming activities, where I've got a lot of the folks now are saying, hey, instead of you planting potatoes and peppers and tomatoes and corn at our place, how about you just grow it for us and sell us all the produce? And then I don't have to go travel to 10 or 15 different locations to plant everybody's annuals. But the risk of that being is that I've got to make sure I can grow them all at my place at scale. So those are some of the challenges that I'm trying to work out right now, Cormac. Even though it's June, I've got to start figuring out through this year what are the things that people are going to need. Right now is planting season for all of the annual vegetables, as well as putting berries in the ground. So I've got raspberries and asparagus that are about to come on, and I've got that to manage this year at my place. And I'll probably be harvesting a record amount of raspberries here in a couple months, I'm expecting, if Julia doesn't eat them all, because she promised me she loves raspberries more than everything else. So that's what I got coming up.
Yeah, I got my first 3 raspberries today. It was great.
Awesome.
The golden ones. Steve, so do you only just introduce what you do, and then you and Graham can chat then about give him a money consult and see what he needs?
Well, I'll just jump in and tag on to what Graham was talking about, because the advantage of using soilless gardening to do your starts, if you ever get a good tomato going in soil inside, take it to go outside and then try to plant it, and all the soil falls off, you're left with root. So with a soilless gardening system, you're going to use a plug or rock wool that can be just, well, I'm going to use this on Saturday. I'll be at an art fair. It's a project for kids to make. But you've got the plug, you've got lettuce on top, you've got water, and you could just take that plug once it's grown enough, plop it in the soil, and it'll grow. The roots will come out around the plug and be able to continue to grow, and the pod will biodegrade then after a while. So you get those started, much easier to transfer them outside. Harvest wall that Graham mentioned, you could grow up to 720 plants in one harvest wall. The smallest will grow 54. And basically it's a wall that grows plants. Tower garden, you can grow up to 44 in a commercial system. Typically 20 to 28 the consumer will use. But you've got water in the base where you put the nutrient and balance the pH of the water. A pump then runs the water up through the center, which washes the roots. So that's aeroponic gardening because the roots are always in the air. Hydroponic, the roots are always in the water. So this is the little hydroponic system. But also a lead pot that's a countertop hydroponic system as well. That ranges $50 to $250, which is a little more affordable maybe than the $1,000 tower garden or the $2,000 harvest wall. But they all center around soilless gardening, making them less susceptible to insects. Of course, you have no weeds growing indoors, which is nice. And the growing is a lot easier inside, especially in January or northern Indiana. Because you're not gonna be growing your lettuce or your tomatoes outside in January, but when you grow them indoors, you need to get lettuce in January when the snow's flying outdoors.
Yeah, that's a big deal right there. I mean, there's a couple things I want to pick up on there, Steve. First you mentioned how using the plugs, means that the roots are going to be able to grow out from the plugs, once you put them in the soil, and depending on what system that you're using, but when the roots are exposed to the air, it tends not to be the same problem as what happens when they're put in pots in the nurseries, where the roots get to the outside and they want to keep on going, and so then they circle around and circle around and circle around because there's no constraint from the air. There's a lot of new plant trays which are available, which create the effect of air pruning the roots, but I've not had much success with those at this point. So I'm liking the idea of the plugs from the perspective of the simplicity that you mentioned of being able to just take them straight out of the growing system and take them to the customer, put them in the ground, and literally walk away. There's going to be that extra moisture that's bound up in the rock wall or the plug, which is going to mean that the plant's already got a good reserve of some mineral nutrition and water within that plug that's going to make it easier to avoid transplant shock when it gets in the ground. You mentioned how the soil can disappear from the roots when you've got the soil medium that you're using for growing. And what that means typically is that we end up with a situation where the plant suffers fairly significant transplant shock because it's being immediately exposed to the ground that you're putting those roots into. And if that ground is sitting there and it's a lot warmer and a lot drier than what it's been in, then it means it's going to struggle a little bit when you get it put in the ground. So there's that aspect, but the big part here, Steve, for me, and you're aware obviously because we live within a couple of hours of each other. But when I go to the nursery in mid-April, this is when I first made my first trips in to start buying some of these vegetables. They've got plants that are already 8 to 12 inches tall for their peppers and their tomatoes and stuff like that, whereas everything that I had in my seed trays was maybe 1 inch to 2 inches tall at most. And it's not as impressive when you turn up to your customers with like 1 and 2 inch plants and tell them it's going to be 6 or 7 weeks before it catches up to what can be purchased in the nursery. And so what I'm looking forward to then is by being able to grow indoors is that I can get plants started a lot earlier and then get the size that's necessary to compete with what's available in the nursery. but also have a better quality plant, because I think I'm going to be able to take a lot better care of it myself than, relying on the nursery staff. Chatting with the nursery staff, they just struggled to get everything done. And when there was a late frost coming, they literally had to take thousands and thousands of trays and move them all indoors to stop them all getting frozen out. And they got nothing else done. So they didn't get any watering done. They didn't get any pruning or trimming or anything else done, because they were all just focused on that one task of crop protection by moving everything indoors to their greenhouses that they thought they wouldn't have to. So I just know that I'm going to be able to pay closer attention to the quality of the plants, by being able to see them every day at my place. And then the third, and here's probably the most important part, the nurseries have already run out of stock for 3/4 of the stuff that my customers want, and it's the first week in June. And so by having indoor growing systems available and being able to start earlier and also start often, I can repeat plant, using the indoor growing systems all through the year if I need to, and then have those plant starts available. So if I do get a new customer that, wants a design done in June and wants to install some plants in July, then I've got that capability of doing it. So I think I just see a lot of flexibility for using indoor growing systems to get all my plant starts done. And then whatever I don't put in the garden, guess what? I get to eat it.
Yeah.
So, say with the harvest wall, how do you do you need lights as well for that, or is that just like go in a greenhouse?
It can usually go to a greenhouse or a tower garden. Both. If you're doing indoors or a greenhouse, both need lights. And really, there's Michigan, even a greenhouse growing in the winter, you probably want lights as well. But
yeah, so see the wall. No, the way there's two sides to the wall, but you need two sets of lights then.
Yeah.
Either side.
Yeah. I've got one in the garage, it's one-sided, so I just need lights on one side. I did cut flowers on it the last time, sunflowers, cosmos. They were beautiful. They grew well, and I should have thought enough to just move them outdoors at that point. But I just grew them until they were done and cut them, and my wife put them in a vase here too. But here in Indiana, we have a group of people who are growing cut flowers outside. Of course, that ends during the winter months. I've been experimenting with cut flowers to see if they could use the soil systems to grow indoors over the winter months for them.
Well, that's another important consideration, because 3 years in a row, Cormac, you and I have experienced what winter means in terms of our income. It pretty much disappears in terms of permaculture design work, and all the landscaping definitely stops in my place, because we can have 6 inches to 6 feet of snow on the ground, depending on what happens with winter here. So I'm looking at this as an opportunity as well to supplement my food, be able to grow my own stuff through the winter and reduce some of my purchase costs. But then also, what can I do to help my customers have food growing all through the winter time? Can I grow starts for them earlier so they can extend their season earlier in the spring? Can I grow starts for them in, sort of late summer for fall planting so they can extend into a greenhouse all the way into November and December? Because I've got 3 customers that have their own greenhouses, and I'd like to see them see if they can't put some good quality starts out, and see if they can grow stuff all the way into January and February, all the way through winter if possible.
That's all great stuff, Steve. Where can people? Is it keepitwater.com, your site, isn't it?
Yes, keepitwater.com. They can contact me there. Get information as well. I mean, happy to chat, set up a phone call or video chat with anybody that's interested. Learn more.
That's great stuff. And guys, I'll put that link in the description. You can give Steve a shout if you want to chat about indoor growing. Just one final thing, Graham. I see you've been working with. Is it Midwest? I can't remember what you call it now.
Great Rivers and Lakes Permaculture Institute.
Yes, that mouthful.
Yeah, grlpi.org. If you go to that website, you'll see us in our activities. It's a regional hub for the Permaculture Institute of North America. So Lindsay has recently been accepted to the board of directors for PINA, Permaculture Institute of North America, and she's the only Canadian representative on the board. And I have joined the board of directors for GRLPI. So we in GRLPI cover 6 states, Ohio, Kentucky, Illinois, Indiana, Michigan, and Wisconsin. I'm glad I can remember all of those. And then Lindsay obviously covers all of Canada, but is on the board of directors for all of North America. So I've had, I'll be honest, a dim view of PINA in the past because of some of the requirements that I think are a little onerous that they've placed on people in terms of being able to teach PDCs and needing to have their diplomas to do it. But they've relaxed a lot of those constraints. I've found it very, very good to work within the bioregional group within GRLPI. Lots of good permaculture people that I've met through that. We're hosting a lot of events. So we've got events taking place in July from the 11th to the 13th. We've got a Michigan-based gathering taking place in Bloomingdale. You can go to the grlpi.org website, find out more details about that, and also the Facebook group if you want to come, and I'll be a speaker at that event. I'm actually going to be talking on the economics of permaculture and market gardening, developing the plots that I've got on my farm here and talking about what that can mean in terms of income production from permaculture. So that's a great group. And like I said, Lindsay's on the board of directors for PINA, and she's doing a lot of really interesting projects already. I'll just mention the words fire safety. That's one of the focuses that she's going to have through PINA. And I've also done a couple of presentations on some PINA podcasts and webinars so far, disaster preparedness being one of them. And so I'd encourage everybody to also look at joining Permaculture Crossing. And Cormac, I'll get you the link for that for you to put up in the show notes. But Permaculture Crossing is hosted for free by PINA. And it's not just focused on permaculture people, but anybody who has an interest in permaculture, whether they're certified or not, can join that and join all the different bioregional networks throughout. And that's why.
Is that the PCX thing?
PCX, that's correct.
PCX, give me up PCX. Yeah, I'm on that myself.
Good, yeah, and that's a global capability, that one. So I think just in the time that I've been with GRLPI, it's gone from 500 members to close to 1,500 now. So,
yeah, I was a member of PINA, but not being in North America, there was no point then continuing it. So it is very focused on North America, isn't it?
Yes, it is. Yep.
Yeah. So for me, it wasn't worth the membership fee every year.
Yeah. Fair enough. But yeah, I think the outreach is going to go global from PINA. So, watch this space.
Yeah, but I did think it was very good for North America. It's definitely worth it. I would definitely recommend joining, at least join the PCX.
Yeah, and no doubt about it. I mean, it's been good for me from a business perspective as well, because I've had 2 or 3 referrals come to me for consultations out of PCX. So I'd encourage people to join that for sure. Yeah,
there's job postings and everything on PINA.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Which is really good. Yeah. Yeah, I forgot to say, but I was up to in June. Just doing more podcasts. not really trying to get that presentation. My work hours are changed now, so I work part-time. So normally I work like half days, 5 days a week. Now I'm going 1 week off, 2 weeks on, 2 weeks off.
Oh.
So I'll have more time, hopefully, to focus on things. And it's very difficult. It was very difficult to work for 4 hours and then trying to go back and get into the permaculture stuff for 4 hours. We're now all just have 8 hours.
Yeah.
So hoping to get more installs and more work that way.
Awesome.
So just, guys, we'll go for a round robin. Just any final thoughts, Graham?
Yeah, well, I'm looking forward to June. I'm looking forward to getting to the end of June, to be honest, because I've booked a week of vacation for myself down in Texas. So the 21st to the 28th is when I'm going to sign off and have a little refreshing break. I'm going to catch up with a few folks that I know in that part of the world, not least of which will be Cynthia Acebo, who's in Dallas-Fort Worth. So I'm looking forward to seeing her in person for the first time. It's one of the permaculture designers that I work with. So that's what I got coming up at the end of June, some time off.
Great stuff. Steve, any
Well,
final thoughts?
June's a great month for us because my wife and I will be celebrating 32 years.
Congratulations.
So yeah, we're excited about the late anniversary celebration and enjoying a little bit of time off.
That's awesome. We go through 33 years in October ourselves, me and my wife, Melissa. So.
Wow. Okay. You're just 1 year ahead of us.
Yeah.
Yeah. We're the youngins. Is that it?
Yeah, for sure.
Well, guys, thanks again for joining us, Graham. Thanks, Steve. We'll be back next week with Mitch. Promise Mitch will be on the podcast next week. It'll be released and edited. But for now, everybody, thanks very much for listening. And we'll catch you next week with Mitch, and we'll catch you next month again for episode 100 with Permaculture Canada. And maybe we'll get a couple of special guests on to say hello.
Looking forward to it, Cormac.
Graham and Steve, thanks very much, and thanks everybody who's listening. Catch you next week.
Yeah.
Take care.
You guys, we'll see you later.